Let's see what happens.
What's the worst that could happen?
That's the real question.
Explosion in the background.
Yeah. That's way too loud. All right, we're live. Hey, everybody. It's on the stick after dark.
I'm Joe.
And I am Joe Drilling, and this is On the Stick After Dark. And that voice you hear there is Mr. Mike Ailes.
That checks out.
Do we have like a before dark?
We used to.
We used to.
That was the podcast.
Technically speaking, it was dark most of the time when we
yeah.
recorded it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's also true.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
So I don't know who we're trying to fool here.
Yeah. But,
we've always been a dark show.
That's right. But that other voice asking if we have a before dark is Alex Rio.
Hi.
And the one who isn't saying much right now is Eric Allen.
Hi.
And the other person who did say stuff is Mike.
I already introduced Mike.
Hey. Oh, did you?
But I'm still here.
Mike's still here.
Well,
So, hey, did you guys know that this week marked the 25th anniversary of the release of Resident Evil in Japan for the Sony PlayStation?
Of course I knew that. What kind of chump doesn't know that?
All right. So, obviously, to mark that occasion, I'm playing the American release of the Saturn version, which actually came out like a year and a half later tonight, because that's,
what we could have just said is to mark the 24th anniversary.
Yeah, right. To mark the 24th anniversary of
or maybe like 23rd and, 3/7/8 or whatever.
Yeah,
We'd have
sure.
to look up the date.
I'd have to look up the date.
Yeah. I don't know why we didn't do that.
I don't know.
It's a mystery.
But I've come more and more to the conclusion, I have to say, because I'm playing this, the stream image is on my flat screen, but I'm looking at the game to play it on my PVM, and the more games of this generation that I play on my PVM, the more I realize that...
Peanut butter and Melly.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Peanut butter versus Melly television. The more games from this generation that I play on my PVM, the more I have come to realize that CRTs absolutely did a lot of work to make PlayStation, Saturn, and N64 games look a lot better. Like, I've heard people say, like, oh, like all PS2 and earlier games look better on a CRT, blah, blah, blah. And I like, Eric and I have talked about this at great length. I like the sharp pixels that a modern display, like properly upscaled, offers. But, man, I will be damned if games of that particular era do not look a whole lot better on a tube TV than they do on a flat panel, even properly upscaled. It's very clear that they were made to run on this kind of technology, and that people who made games absolutely took into account the kind of display you would be looking at when they made these games. Because this FMV looks like infinitely more tolerable on the PVM than it does on the flat panel.
Early like FMV, super low resolution, poorly compressed. You can see every single artifact in every frame of the video because there aren't that many frames usually either.
Yeah,
that's rough.
But even like the jagged edges of like playing Time Crisis a lot, like last summer when I got my PVM, I was playing a shitload of Time Crisis, and having it on the big screen right next to the CRT, I was like, wow, like this looks bad on, on a modern display, even properly upscaled and everything, and it looks pretty... I guess what it really ultimately comes down to is that, like, actually, like, the filters and blurry shit that we hate on pixel games actually probably is pretty well put to use on 3D games. I haven't done a lot of like pixel smoothing stuff with 3D like PS1 and Saturn games, but I think it benefits from that stuff more than like pixel art games always just look like someone smeared Vaseline over the screen, which I hate. But 3D stuff benefits from those filters and the
I don't know exactly where I fall on the pixel art stuff because I spent so many years now seeing them all hyper sharp on computer screens. But I think in my mind, I still kind of like a little bit of fuzz, a little bit of blur on like a Super Nintendo or an NES game.
Only the most minuscule amount of interpolation to prevent pixel shimmer is as far as I'll go with that. But I want the hyper sharp, like perfectly square corners on all the pixels when it comes to definitely
For
anything.
me, it
16
depends on what kind of display I'm playing it on, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
right. If I'm playing it on a 24-inch whatever CRT TV, then I want it to be weird and blurry. And if I'm playing it on my 1440 monitor or whatever, then I want it to be super sharp.
Right. Well, right. I wouldn't want to try to sharpen it more on my PVM. That would look weird. Wouldn't look. I mean,
Yeah.
what would be the point of playing it on the PVM if you did that? You know. But
like I currently spend a lot of time using my Mister on a PC monitor, which is a CRT display. It's just being scan doubled, so it just takes every pixel and every line of pixels and runs it twice, basically, right? So to fill up the 640 by 40 resolution, and it's almost too nice. Like I almost kind of wish that it looked a little more analog than it does. Like you get the nice glow from the analog monitor, which is fun.
Yeah.
But
you definitely get a different kind of light coming off of the analog monitor for sure.
But otherwise, it's super clean to a point where I almost kind of wish that it looked a little less so sometimes.
So mine is standard resolution. It won't do this
480?
monitor will not do 480p. If you put, because I've tried and it doesn't work.
Does it do 480i?
It will do 480i. Yeah, and 480i actually looks really good on this monitor. But yeah, 480p. Like if I try to do Dreamcast with the progressive, like the VGA output progressive through my SCART cable, it wigs out. It won't take that. But yeah, 480i looks just really, really good. Like I played like a Tekken 3 is a 480i PlayStation game, and on this PVM it looks fantastic.
I wish I had a chance to see someone's PVM so I could decide if it was a thing that I actually wanted or not.
I mean, well, so one, you should come visit again when it's safe, and then you can.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not soon.
We can play some Point Blank or whatever, you know.
That is a good choice.
But I mean, I wasn't sold on it. Like originally, I basically got this for light guns. Like that was why I wanted one, was so that I could use it to play light gun games. And now, pretty much anything pre PS3, if I fire it up, or pre Xbox 360, I guess is really the more appropriate way to put that. If I fire it up, I'm doing it on, you know, I usually have the big TV going because I'm capturing something most often when I'm playing old games these days. But I mean, I'm doing it on the PVM. I'm playing on the PVM. I'm looking at the PVM when I play. Just because I for a long time I was like, people talk about that and like it doesn't look that different, or it looks better, you know, properly upscaled and sharpened and whatever. But it's like, no, like I'm looking back and forth between Resident Evil on the big TV upscaled through a FrameMeister, you know, proper. I mean, I'm seeing what people watching the stream are seeing basically, and it just, I mean, again, the technology that they were using, like the backgrounds, like you were saying about the FMVs for sure, but like the pre-rendered backgrounds in Resident Evil are also like a huge victim of that, where like you see every weird little artifact and jagged edge, and you know, all that stuff is just sort of smoothed out by virtue of it being on a way lower resolution monitor, and it looks kind of ugly on the big display. You know, I think PS2 looks fine on the big TV upscaled, and like Dreamcast. Actually, I was just talking to somebody about this recently, but like, and I was talking about it, I think when I first got it, and I was playing it on stream, I think probably a year and a half ago. Like Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, when it's pushing out the 480p signal and like I line double it to 960. It could pass for a current game, I think, in some ways. Not, I mean, it's not ray tracing or doing any of that shit, but just in terms of like how good those character models actually still look and the stages and everything, and like how meticulous they were about it. Like a high quality signal line doubled on that Dreamcast VGA actually looks really good, and it's not, the gap between, you know, then and now is not super obvious on that. But yes, okay. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. This is the kind of game that benefits very nicely from being on a lower resolution monitor. But I don't know. I mean, it also depends on what you'd be paying, Mike. Like I paid 125, I think, or 110. I think I paid for mine.
I mean, part of me just curious to know if I would like the picture quality better than the CRT PC monitor that I have. Like,
I mean, if you think that the CRT PC monitor looks like too good, you might, you know, you might think it's
because also like I paid $30 Canadian for this thing, and you know, it's doing a pretty good job. So I would need to be fairly convinced to spring for a PVM. You know, around here people sell them for at least 200, 250.
Yeah.
They're not a really common occurrence around here. There seems to be one person on the local classified ads who has a pile of them that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Which, as far as I can tell, they aren't moving that fast. So I don't know. Maybe he'd make a deal.
Yeah. There's one guy around here, but he's not just the guy for around here. He's a guy who, he's got a YouTube channel where, like, you can see the one I have being fixed up by him on his YouTube channel, like when he initially got it and recapped it and everything. And he's pretty reasonable about, you know, he's not trying to make a fortune off of these things. And I mean, it also depends on what quality of signal you want. Like I've seen PVMs that take only composite sell for, you know, a lot less.
Sure, but what's the point at that point?
You know, actually, if the display is, you know, a certain degree of small, it actually still looks pretty good. Like, but again, I mean, to me, there's no point if it, like, I've seen people at like Too Many Games selling like 8 or 10 inch, like 8 inch. Like, I don't want to play games on an 8-inch screen. You know, console games. I just don't want to do that. It's just not, you know, but. The head punt. You know, I don't feel like doing that, but if you don't mind playing on a screen that small, I mean, like, I saw Mario 64 running through composite on like an 8-inch PVM, probably 2 years ago at a convention, and I was like, wow, that actually looks really good, but, you know,
8 inches.
Fucking tiny, so, you know. This one, you know, was big enough that I felt good. You know, 14 inches is what mine is. There's some overscan on that, so it's probably closer to 13 inches of like usable space. But you know, it's big enough for me to play light gun games on and not feel like I'm having real trouble aiming or hitting what I want to hit. And you know, I don't know. I think it, you know, for me it's worth it, but it's gonna depend on, you know, what kind of value you get out of it, what you would use it for. Because a lot of people don't. I mean, there's a lot of people. I didn't care. I was just, again, like, I just wanted to play light gun games, and I forget how early Jill can get the shotgun in this when you play as her. It's like you don't even really have to use the pistol ever. I don't think. Oh no, this isn't the collapsing room. Why did I think that was the collapsing room? But since Barry will save you when you take the shotgun, you don't have to like You don't have to wait nearly as long as Chris to find the broken one first. That's the collapsing room. There we go. We're gonna get the Jill Sandwich line before we're done here tonight. So what have you guys been playing anything besides Valheim? Actually, you know what, Alex, you're playing Bullets Per Minute, right? Or is that what it's
Correct.
called? I didn't know anything.
I
about
bought
that
it
game.
yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that until I saw you tweeting about how badass it was, and then I watched some videos, and like now I'm pretty interested. So tell me about Bullets Per Minute.
It's a first-person shooter. It's a roguelike, and it's a rhythm game, all at the same time. So it's I gotta move. Sorry, I'm like doing stuff in this game. Yeah, so you there's like a little. All the songs are the same, like in the game. The soundtrack's really good, but all the songs are the same beats per minute. So it's kind of like you just sort of get used to the pattern, like the way the game works. And yeah, it's like so you'll like you can dash, but you can only dash on the beat or on the like half beats. So it's like, and it takes a full beat for it to recharge. So, and you can only shoot on the beat. It's kind of like Crypt of the Necrodancer, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
But it seems a little more fast paced than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's basically like, what if Quake was Crypt of the Crypt of
Quake
the Necrodancer?
It's Quipped of the Necrodancer.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, you're just like running around. You like go into a room, everything spawns, and then you just like kill a bunch of dudes, and then yeah, go to the next one and like find items, equip gear, like.
But on
get
the
as
beat,
hard as you can. Everything's got to be on the beat. Yeah. So like when you're shooting,
reloading,
reloading,
dashing.
every reload is multiple parts. So it'll be like some of them are like a 3-part reload, which would be like reload. Yeah, like right, like you have to tap it 3 times, like in tune with the music. And same thing with like shooting. You gotta like like shoot, shoot. That's only like on the beat, right? But you can like do it in between as well, but you can't fuck it up. Yeah, you get it.
So if you fuck it up, does it just
This
don't
doesn't
shoot?
happen.
It just doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Okay.
Yeah. Same thing with the reload. It's like why it's broken up into parts is like you can maybe you'll do the first part on the right, like on the beat or on the half beat, but then the second part you do it too soon. So it's like you're still like on the first part of the reload. It's usually like you like pull the clip out and then like put the clip in. There's infinite ammo, stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about that at least. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun.
This game was not all on my radar, and we were talking about it. I assumed it was a new game, and then I saw like
It's been out for September
it's been
last
out-
year.
it came out last year.
I like
That's
knew about it. I just
new-ish.
like didn't. I don't know. I just like was like I don't know. I'll get around to it, and then I kind of just forgot about it for a while. And then I saw like a streamer playing it yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game. I was like, I've never actually like looked into this, and then I like saw them playing it, and what really did is I heard them play. Like I heard the music. I was like, oh, this music's good. I want to play this game. It's got a like everything's like Norse, like everything. They're like Valkyries are the characters you play as, and it's all like you're in like
Nords are so hot right now.
yeah, but so they've got like a heavy, of course when you think of Norse mythology, what do you think of? Racist, and separate from that, metal. Sometimes it's not separate, but
Right, I was gonna say sometimes not separately. But sure.
but so yeah, it's got like a metal slash like I don't want to say electronic. There's just keyboards. What do you call that?
I mean,
metal,
it's kind
I
of like
guess.
industrial sound. Like it's got some Nine Inch Nails, like Trent Reznor vibes.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but it's good. It's real good. It's just like I played it this morning when I was really tired and admittedly hungover, and I was like, and I beat it. There's different difficulties and stuff, so it's not like over or anything. But I beat it, and I was like, man, that was great. And then I tried playing it in the afternoon when I was like awake and like showered and exercised and like in a good mood and like everything was great. I was like, oh, now I'm gonna do great, and I like sucked ass. Like I was like doing horrible. I was like, it's gone, man. I'm like, I was feeling it in the morning, and then now I'm not. That's a sign of a good rhythm game, is when you can get, like, for whatever reason, when you're playing it, you get in the zone, you're like, holy shit, this rules. And then some other time you play it, you're like, I don't even know what my hands are doing. Like, what's happening?
Right. Yeah, that's...
It's fun. I like it. It's not, like, earth-shattering or anything, but more games should do the, like, it's blank, but a rhythm game. I'm like, yeah, do that.
And what it's not a full price. It's like $20 or
It's like $20, yeah. Oh, it's got a cool it's like cell shaded, but like every stage has like a super saturated color scheme, so it's like some levels are like every level looks different,
I'll have to check this out at some point. It does sound like the kind of thing that I might enjoy.
Sounds like it'd be really hard to stream though. Like you said, you saw a streamer playing it, and I feel like I'd have to just like ignore the chat and not talk to you guys at all to be able to effectively.
I mean, it depends on how good you are at rhythm games, huh?
Do that. I mean, I'm good at them. It's hard to stay on the beat when you're talking to someone,
Yeah, yeah.
And your
I mean, I
conversation
definitely when I
is
was
not
playing,
on the beat.
when I was playing this morning, I like was like counting like in my head and stuff. Like, okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, reload, 1, 2. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but once you do that, it's fine. Thank you for party. You guys were bad. I'm leaving. Okay. Well, one dude was like fighting the wrong enemy, and I had to literally put the little marker on there, and then he just like didn't do it, and then I like put the marker on him, and then put it on the enemy, and then he was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Oh, I get it.
You got there eventually.
Yeah. Fine.
Well, speaking of games that sound like something I would like, I'm playing a Loop Hero right now, which sounds a lot like a game that I would like, but the jury might be still a little out on whether that's actually the case or not.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I've been playing it for 2-3 hours at this point, and my guy's been going around the loop a bunch.
You and Eric are both playing that lately.
Yeah, I was gonna say Eric's playing that, I think.
Yeah, I was curious to see if your opinion had evolved at all in this game.
I'm kind of bored with it. I don't know.
How far did you get?
I beat the first boss.
Okay, so you got further than I have. I'm actually considering triggering the first boss on the run that I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
because I've almost got the world built up enough.
What's your current armor level? What's your gear score?
My gear score? I don't even know where you see the gear score.
What's the level? It says in the little window with your equipment. It tells you what level it is.
Well, yeah, most of my stuff is level 6 right now.
Yeah, you want to go like closer to like level 10 with that stuff.
Level 10, really?
Yeah.
Like, you think I'll just get destroyed if I fight the boss now?
Probably. Well, I won't spoil it.
Well, this I gotta see.
I was at level 10 when I beat him.
Wow. Okay.
First time.
Okay, but Eric, did you get your vampire HOA started before you?
No, I've tried messing with vampires, and I can't. It messes the difficulty curve up so much that I haven't yet figured out.
You mean just having them on the map, or?
Well, so if you put vampires next to villages, then it will like.
Yes, I cannot build.
Ghouls will spawn, and this ghouls are really, really hard to fight. But I was also doing that on the second boss level, which also accelerates the growth of the enemies on the map much faster per loop.
Right.
So that might be part of the problem, but there would definitely be times where it's like I would do a loop and crush everything, and then on the next loop I'd just get my ass whipped, and I wasn't entirely sure. And that a lot of that was just because of the sheer number of because when you put the vampires next to the village, it'll spawn 4 ghouls, and you also have to fight a vampire, so you have to fight 5 enemies at once,
and they're all draining health. And
yeah.
Is it still Loop Hero we're talking about?
Loop Hero, yeah.
Loop Hero is a game that's filled with hidden interactions, basically.
I have no idea what it is. I just have seen people playing it, and I'm like, all right.
It's a tile placement board game.
Yeah, it's a tile placement board game, but you're kind of like being somebody on Giant Bomb sort of described it as being the dungeon master, and so you have a little guy that's like walking this path that's a loop, and you're placing tiles down to make a dungeon for him to fight his way through to get stronger. And
Yeah.
your goal as the player is to make that dungeon
like
play
easy,
out.
beatable.
Well, not you don't want to make it too easy because then you don't gather resources because there's a
Yeah.
whole other like management part where you're like building a village to make yourself stronger from the start and unlock more like item inventory slots and more different characters and more ways to like restore your health or whatever. Um, but basically what you want to do is you want to make the difficulty curve such that it's challenging enough that you gather a significant amount of resources without
Yeah,
killing
but
your
not too much
character.
to like waste health
Right.
and not be able to beat the
Right.
boss. Yeah, it's a
If
roguelike.
if your character dies, then you can only get 30% of the resources you've collected, like a random assortment of them. But if you make it back to the campfire, you can leave with all of them. Or if you leave in the middle of a run, then
It
you only
gets
get
60%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the game definitely trades in secrets, and so
Yeah.
I still have a lot of stuff that I had not understood about this game. But I've just been placing down these things called battlefields, and a battlefield gives you one chest per loop that you do, but it can also turn enemies you fight nearby into ghosts.
Right.
And so I showed up and there was a ghost, and I fought the ghost, and I beat it, and it became the ghost of a ghost. And then I beat that, and it became a bunch of ghosts or something like that. And then I beat that, and it became like a primal matter or something like that. And like I'd never seen that before anyway. That was,
Did you put two of those next to each other and then
yeah, is that what it was? They're
If you put two of the chest tiles next to each other, then it'll turn the road into like a blood-soaked
path,
road or something. Yeah, and then you have
So-
to fight blood clots, which is a different enemy type.
right, but I guess also they reinforce each other's ghostliness and make the ghosts become ghosts of ghosts.
Obviously,
Makes a lot of sense. when you
Goes
think
all the
about
way
it.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the like most obvious and biggest ones that you find out early is that there's some tiles that are just called rocks or mountain pieces, and you can put those next to each other, and they'll boost your max hit points. But if you put them in a 3x3 grid, then they'll combine into a giant mountain that is like the home of some harpies, and then the harpies will attack you on the map.
Mm-hmm. Although for some reason I did it a second time and I didn't get a second peek.
No, you only get one peak per run.
Peek per map. Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
For
there's these
additional
parts
peaks,
called-
subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Oh boy.
Would you say you have Twin Peaks to offer me?
All right.
That was a homonym joke. I meant for additional to take another peek at not.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
So I was going to say, well, Eric, so first of all, the boss just spawned, so I may or may not be done for at this point. I'm not sure. Do I have to fight it if I go back to my camp? Because that's where
you make it back to the campfire, you have to fight him.
So my choice at this point is run away and get 60%, or take a chance and worst case, I get 30%.
Give it a shot.
Maybe I
You
will.
must have
I don't know
run
how
away.
long. I don't know how long you're. Unless you've been farming for a long time, in which case you might want to.
I'm on my 6th loop, but I have a very large amount of vampirism. I don't know if that's going to help me, but
Meaning you
I'm gonna
are
go
a
fight him.
vampire
Go find out.
to
I'm
a
not
large
gonna-
extent.
I ain't gonna tell you how to live your life. You know.
I think at this point I'm committed.
I mean, commitment is important, Mike.
I've beaten him a few times. I feel like I could beat him pretty easily anytime I want. Like I said, it's the.
Well,
I
actually,
probably could. I feel like I could probably beat the second one if I played a little safer. But I was trying to like. It seems like there's by using the vampire stuff, you could like farm resources a lot faster or something because of the way that the upgraded village tiles work. But I don't know. I don't know if it's really worth it or not. Because the amount of time that I've spent failing might have been better off just doing a few successful.
A couple safe runs.
Yeah, because so after you beat that boss and do the second go round, it lets you like there's a limit to the amount of resources you can collect per
run.
attempt.
Yeah, do you have like a backpack kind of?
Yeah, it's like 10 of each or something like that. But if you're on the second act against the second boss, then you can collect like double that amount of resources.
Oh, I do like more resources.
And you collect more of the better, like the higher level resources faster in that one. So, but like I said, maybe I should just stop messing with the vampire stuff and just try and beat it.
Well, I'm going all in on vampirism for this run. My vampirism's at 49%.
Okay.
So can't wait to see that backfire on me because this guy is some kind of vampire himself or who knows what.
He's a lich.
He's a vampire hunter.
A lich is not a vampire.
Well,
They're different
that's
things.
true.
They're
Gotta get
zombies. They're like
You gotta
undead.
get his phylactery and then.
I've read the monster manual, man. I know my rights.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting, but like I said, I beat the first boss pretty quickly and easily,
First boss.
and then the second one is I can't tell if it's like that much more difficult or if my
Maybe just-
experimentation with vampires is hamstringing me, or I don't know exactly what's going on. So
Look, Eric, we all go through an experimental phase at some point. It's usually in college, but sometimes it's later, and sometimes you end up experimenting with vampires. It's okay.
Well, I'm crawling my way up to a gear score of 7 on average, but I think 10 is not going to happen at this point. So I guess if you want to hit 10, you have to intentionally not place tiles for a while, right? Just keep doing loops until you feel strong and then put down your tiles. No, maybe.
what's that?
I said if you want to get to the point where you have level 10 gear to fight this lich dude,
Right.
um,
You should stop putting tiles down because
Yeah.
like the way that you trigger the boss spawn is that you have to put down a certain number of tiles.
yes.
So you are in total control of when the boss does spawn.
Assuming that I am paying attention, which is maybe not a safe
Right.
assumption.
Well, listen,
Well, that's
I have been there several times. So, like, oh, I'm not ready for the boss. Why did I spawn it? Because I wasn't freaking paying attention. But
Oh, it's so hard to know if you want to switch items and you get a super powerful one that doesn't play to your strengths. So do you do the thing where you nuke your mountains and then rebuild them?
nuke them.
Yeah, with an Oblivion tile, you can take the center out of a mountain and you
Put
get a
it
whole
back.
bunch. Yeah, and then you
You,
put it
you
back.
don't lose the hit points when you do that.
But then they come back when you rebuild the mountain.
Well, what would be the point of doing that?
You get a bunch of extra like stone resources when you do that.
Oh no, I never tried that.
Now you'll have to try it.
Do you get like the good stone or just the basic stone, or a little bit of both?
Man, I don't know.
Because there's like two different kinds of stone.
I mean, I think I've only got access to the crappy stone, I'm guessing. Preserve
like when
pebbles
you
and preserve
open
rocks.
you can open your backpack and look,
Yeah.
and it'll show you.
Yeah, I preserved pebbles and preserved rocks.
Yeah, there you go.
And you make the big ones by getting the small ones.
Right.
It's like every 10 or 20 of the small ones you collect, you get a big one.
Yeah.
Well, with all this vampirism, I'm going to be going into the fight with pretty much full health, so that's something at least, right?
Yeah, I never really. I picked the trait that turned your. There's a trait that turns your defense into attack. Like 20% of your defense becomes attack, like gets added to your attack, and I thought that was pretty strong. And then there's another one that turns your evasion into a counterattack chance, which that was also pretty good because I like had 40 evasion, and so like every time I would evade, I would get an extra attack. So I was just attacking 50% more
That's
basically.
pretty good.
Yeah. Plus, just evasion seems pretty strong because not getting hits, you know,
it's better than getting hit.
Yeah, not
better than
hit's
getting
good.
hit. Yeah.
This guy consumed all of our reality. Every one of its elements now rests in a separate pocket dimension.
Yeah, this guy. What a
This
jerk.
fucking guy in his pocket dimensions. Unbelievable. The gall. The unmitigated gall of this fucker in his pocket dimensions. Will
Did
take
you?
the
Oh, you
red
probably
herb?
haven't unlocked the next class yet, then either.
No, I haven't built very much stuff in my
Interesting.
Mike
It
has no
dual.
class.
It's a rogue, so it dual wields instead of having a sword and a shield.
Oh.
And also, you have boots as a piece of equipment instead of
Woohoo,
a
boots.
ring. Yeah. And then instead of getting equipment every time you get into a fight, you get a bunch of stuff, and then when you make it back to camp, it gives you a ton of equipment all at once.
Oh, okay.
Which
Interesting.
is, well, it's weird because it means that you can't, like, if you can't get a decent piece of gear halfway through a run and then get super
Halfway
strong.
through a loop, you mean?
Yeah.
I will mix the herbs, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it does hit pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
That
Also,
lich
he
does.
he regens health for every one of those buildings that still exists.
How do you destroy the buildings?
You have to have a bunch of oblivions.
Oh, well, I sure don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is. I'm holding my own better than I thought I would, but I think he's gonna kill me when he's got about to.
Did you unlock healing potions yet?
Yeah, but I'm out.
Okay.
I got him down to like 20% of his health.
That's pretty good.
Not good enough.
Well, see if you'd had a. I think there's a trait that just gives you a handful of oblivion cards, and that seems like the best way to beat him.
Interesting. Interesting indeed.
I think I'm gonna dump the vampires and go back to groves and blood groves.
If there are no vampires, who's going to eat the blood out of the blood groves?
Well, so a blood grove will automatically kill enemies that have less than 15% health, and it also has a like a low percent chance to spawn a really strong enemy that usually gives you a pretty good piece of equipment.
Isn't that just based on how many enemies they devour?
What's that? The blood grove?
I thought that once they eat enough, because they start shaking after a while.
Okay.
You can
That
see
might
them
be-
wobbling on the map, and then they spit out like the super golem thing. I
Just
can't.
says may spawn something dreadful from their remains. So I guess the way that's worded makes it sound like that might be the case. Also, I unlocked a thing called the Storm Temple, which does like lightning damage to anything in a fight within its radius, but it seems like it always targets me.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if that's broken or it says strikes 2 random targets in range with lightning every 5 seconds.
Stop
can
wearing
be-
all that metal.
But it's just like maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but it seemed like randomly it would strike me every single fucking time. Every single time, so I just stopped using it.
Yeah, you're the doofus wearing plate mail fighting a skeleton.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't know,
this is
so-
definitely this is like one of the weirdest, like one of the weirder games I played recently, and I love the way it looks and the music's really good and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. I have wheat fields, but they're locked. Doesn't say what I need to do to unlock the wheat fields.
Did you? I think you have to build a farm, right, in your base.
I have a farm in my base. I have one farm.
Then you should be able to use the wheat fields. Oh, you can only have 12 cards at a time.
Yeah, I've removed some. Unless the wheat field costs more than one slot.
I don't think so.
Sure.
I don't. I just left that screen, or I could look at it and tell you, but I don't know offhand.
It's got a padlock on it. I can't see any of the other cards that I can't build.
Oh, you have to have villages to have. You have to have a village down to use the wheat field. So if you don't have villages in your deck, then you can't.
Right,
Use the wheat
okay.
fields.
That's what it is
That's
then.
why. Yeah.
So, speaking of deck building, the other thing I thought about doing tonight, which I opted not to do for whatever, I guess I didn't think it would be long enough. But has anybody checked out that game, Fights in Tight Spaces? I downloaded the demo.
No, it looks pretty cool though. I want to play that.
Yeah, there's a demo on Steam, and so I grabbed that, but I haven't actually played it yet. But it looks pretty neat.
It's on my list of things that I want to check out.
It's still in early access, right? Or is it
Yeah.
like the game actually?
It seems like more than a lot of early access games. It seems like it's pretty
Complete
Like-
or
Feature complete.
well, yeah, not like feature complete, but just like you can just play it and it's fine. You know what I mean?
I mean, there have been a bunch of games like that. Like, you know, that's certainly the way that I felt about Griftlands when I played it. Was that like
Yeah.
what
No,
was
for
there
sure.
was definitely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good music in this game.
Oh yeah.
That seemed like a thing that you would be into, Mike, as well.
Fights in tight spaces, maybe. Yeah, deck building strategy kind of game. Totally. Just a lot of stuff to play, you know.
Yeah, Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff to play.
There's a lot of stuff to play. I finished.
Never.
I finished Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection this week.
Oh, Deco.
I mean, it's a game for a very specific audience, but I'm a member of that audience, so
That audience is he.
that audience is me.
It never stops
so.
being one of those games, huh?
It never stops being one of those games. If you played it a little bit of it and you're like, well, this sure is one of those, and I'm not into that, like it ain't gonna change. So
You're in a bad part of town, mister.
I mean, I guess you could argue that it kind of changes if you play through the whole thing and unlock the bonus armors at the end. Because then
Once you beat the game, it stops
Right.
being that thing.
Once you beat the game and can play it in a way that is totally different than the way you would normally play one of those, then it's something. Then yeah, it's something else. But it's really because one of the you get 2 bonus armors that you can equip. You can only equip one at a time, but they're both pretty broken. One is called the Armory Armor, which turns Arthur into an armory where he can hold every weapon in the game at once, and you can just freely switch between all 7 different weapons. And the other is the Cast Armor, which reduces the cooldown on spells to 0. So you can spam all of the magic spells you have without penalty, and by the time you beat the game and get the true ending so that you can get these bonus armors, you have basically every spell in the game already. So you can just lay it down, and some of the spells are I mean, a lot of them are just like total screen clearing for just about everything that isn't a boss. So it's just sort of it's a bit bananas. But again, you have to beat the game and get the good ending, which requires, for me, it required 3 full runs of the game. You could do it in 2 if you were using a guide, because you just have to look at a guide that tells you where to find all the bullshit. So you could do it in 2, but I did it in 3. And so, yeah, I mean, generally, it's not. If those games do not trip your trigger, you're not going to find anything there to like. So that was probably a much longer answer than you actually were looking for, but but yeah, I don't know.
It's got ghouls and
Did they patch it to make it look not ugly yet, or?
No, it still looks really good, actually. Strangely enough,
that's too bad.
Yeah. So
If they could just like make it animate some, that'd be good.
I mean, it animates quite a bit in my experience, having played through the whole thing.
Things bounce and
You can
rotate.
take 2 frames of animation and make it do it a lot, I guess.
I mean, Arthur's run cycle has kind of always been that. I don't know, like, if he was overly animated, I think it would be weird to control him. Like, you know. Okay, so I moved this to find... No? I moved the other way? Okay, I moved the other way.
So I will say one big bummer about Loop Hero is that there doesn't seem to be any way to suspend your game.
Oh no.
Well, I don't think so. It's like you
just leave and start over.
Well, sure, but like it takes a while to get your loop up to the point where you're, well equipped and you're getting all the good rewards. Yeah. And it kind of sucks to have to give that up if you don't have time to finish your run. Like, I probably won't have time to finish this one because I've got to stop in about 5 minutes. Yeah. And there's no technical reason I can see why the game couldn't just save your progress and let you leave. I don't know if they're worried about people cheesing the game.
See?
But seriously, don't worry about that. Who cares?
It's a single-player game. Yeah.
Right.
Let me ruin
the game for myself. However you want. Yeah. Speaking of that,
let me use game genie codes to make my guy wrap around the screen.
I was just gonna say, Mike and I were talking yesterday via text about some dude made some new Game Genie codes for Ninja Gaiden for the NES.
Yeah.
One of which has you, instead of falling, if you fall down a pit, instead of dying, it just screen wraps, so you just pop out the top. And apparently, because of the way that the code is written for that game, if you just continue falling, you'll eventually go so fast that you start falling upwards instead.
Just because you overflow the velocity value, basically.
Yep. And then you start falling up, and then eventually, obviously, you lose your momentum on falling up, and you'll like kind of hover there and then fall back down. But there's one that turns pits into trampolines, basically, where instead of falling into a pit, it spits you back out immediately. One of the more interesting ones, I think, that would make the game potentially more accessible to a lot of people is he made a code. So this guy's like a programmer, hacker, modder, whatever. And he's like, I found the spot in the code where it sends you back to the beginning of stage 6 if you die on one of the final bosses.
Oh.
And fixed it so it sends you back to the beginning of 6-3, which is in line with, all the other stages in the game, basically, instead of kicking you all the way back. And so there's a Game Genie code that you can just put in that, and like, in emulators and like on my EverDrive, like you don't need a real Game Genie. You can just put in Game Genie codes and it will sort it out for you. So
Mr. does that too, right?
I think Mr. has Game Genie support, yeah. But yeah, that was like another thing that I kind of thought about doing tonight was maybe I would do that. But by the time we were getting started, the amount of time it would take me to get set up to do that was like, I was like, I don't want to spend the time. But that's pretty interesting that people are still like figuring out Game Genie codes for those games. And that one, like, I don't know, I had never played the Famicom version of Castlevania. Sorry, the Famicom cartridge version of Castlevania, which was the re-release that Konami did in like 1992 or 93. Adds an easy mode to that game that just really tweaks a couple of things that makes the game a lot easier, to the point where like the first time I tried the easy mode, I was on a plane. This was early last year before the thing. And I was on a plane and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try, like, cause it's on the Castlevania collection on Switch. I was like, I'm just going to like play through the easy version. And I did a 1 credit clear, like my first try. Because it does stuff like it, you can keep your multiplier, you keep your sub weapon if you die. There's no knockback. And so just those like couple of things, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a lot easier. And I feel like, something like the, you can turn off the knockback too. There's a Game Genie code for Ninja Gaiden where the knockback is turned off. So like those things, it's just kind of like, oh, like, yeah, these like handful of things like really changes how this game works in a way that now it's kind of a lot more accessible if you're not used to playing those super hard old school games. So yeah, I don't know, I thought it was really interesting. The YouTube channel is called Displaced Gamers, and it's his most recent video, and he just goes into like, well, here's what I found in the place in the code where like it does this thing, and then like here's the Game Genie code to make it not do that thing anymore. And it's pretty interesting. I haven't checked any of them out, but that would be a thing that I think would be fun to try. Where am I going now? I guess I'm going to just try unlocking doors because I got some keys. And I
heard you're pretty good at it.
Yeah, she's like a master.
She's the one who's supposed to be pretty good at unlocking.
Yeah.
Famous video game quote.
Yeah.
I hear you're pretty good at unlocking.
I'm pretty good at unlocking bedtime, so I'm going to take off.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna once I get to a spot where I don't have an ink ribbon or I could save here, but once I get to a spot where I can save, I'm probably gonna shut it down for tonight.
Please enjoy Chris's blood.
I hope this is not Chris's blood. I don't think it is. I don't think we ever actually find out whose blood it is, but Chris seems like he's pretty well intact when you find him in that cell at the end, so I do not believe it is Chris's blood. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Various things. The desk is locked.
I've also been playing a weird adventure slash graphic novel thing on Switch called Notia,
Hmm.
which is it is a single player um game where you play like like mafia or werewolf against AI characters
Interesting.
that they all have like predefined um like statistics and abilities and personalities. Um and as you're playing, so after you do a round of the I don't know what it's like. Is there a word for that that's not just like the name of some of the various? The only one I ever played was Avalon, which was fun once, and then I don't need to really, I mean, obviously the video game comparison is Among Us, but that sort of game has existed for
Right. I mean, I usually just refer to it as
decades beyond
Mafia,
that.
even though.
Yeah. But anyways, so you play Mafia against these AI opponents, and in between rounds, you can like kind of like Persona or Danganronpa style. You can go and talk to some of the other people that are on the. It's set in space, and the Nosha are like these like this weird alien consciousness that can, if it touches people, can take over their brains, and so like they become like warped versions of themselves that want to kill all the humans.
So it's The Thing meets Mafia.
Right, but they still retain some of their own personality, kind of. So like if like there's one guy who's like super depressed, and when he's Nosha, he's just like, this is still like this is still fucking pointless. I don't really want to kill everyone because it just sounds like too much work. Um, and like the like one of the women that's super enthusiastic is just like also super enthusiastic about being Nosha or whatever. It's pretty neat, but
So she
it's
gives
just like
herself away immediately. Like,
it, yeah, there have been so when you go to visit them, sometimes there's special scenes, and then you like learn some of the backstory of those characters, and like are like slowly unraveling like what is going on, and like it seems really interesting, but the breadcrumbing might be a little bit too spread out. Um, Although eventually you do unlock there's ways to play with different variations, and so you eventually unlock an ability that will give you variations that are more likely to spawn those events, which kind of accelerates the pace at which you get the special scenes with the characters.
huh.
But the problem is there's just like when you're actually playing the Mafia style game, there just isn't a lot of variety because they kind of just say the same statements over and over and over again.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like
Yeah.
there's a very limited amount of dialogue options. They'll say the same thing, but just like insert somebody else's name into that line or whatever. Um,
Right.
but I don't know. I have not figured out how I feel about this thing yet.
I think that sounds like the kind of thing where like it could be good if it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah. I'm on like loop 50, and I've filled out like every time you get one of those scenes, like the game tracks the different um like bullet point versions of the things that you saw in the scenes. And I've gotten about, I don't know, like more than half of those in 50 loops. So I think if the game finishes up around loop 100, it'll probably be okay, but
Hmm.
um I don't know. I guess maybe if I was more excited about playing a Mafia style game over and over and over again, I might be enjoying it more. But there's a certain I kind it's like I just don't give a shit if the humans win or the Nosha win, or if I regardless of if I am a human or a Nosha or a whatever. I just want to see the scenes, and so once you've seen the one or two little cutscenes that you can see, then it's kind of like I'm just like pushing A button to get through
Right.
the argument
Skip
part of
through
the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The only upside is if whichever side you're on, if you win, you get more experience points, which lets you dump more points into to your own personality traits, which makes you better at playing the game. So
Hmm.
I don't know. That seems very interesting. I like the art quite a bit, so we'll see where that ends up.
Is that a
But
Japanese game or is it a?
I honestly I don't know. That's a good question. It seems like it would have to be a game that was released in Japan like 5 years ago on the PSP or something. But
Yeah, right. That's sort of where I was going with that. Yeah, but obviously I can't. I mean, the art style maybe
How do you
informs
spell
you.
Nosha?
Gnosia.
GNOSIA. GNOSIA. Nosia, Nosia. Apparently
Nosha.
it's a new thing that just came out, so
I like the art.
yeah, the art's really good.
It's like the cover art's like a girl and then like a crazy version of the girl, and I'm like,
Well,
all right,
the
I'm in.
crazy version of her,
2019.
the crazy version of her is the Nosha art.
Yeah.
But it's pretty. It's a little like the character background.
Small Japanese indie studio name, blah
There
blah
you go.
blah. There you go.
Depoto.
I guess, yeah.
So there's actually some stuff in chat, and I apologize, Chad, if you put this in there a while ago. It was like mostly covered by one of my other windows, so I'm sorry about that. But C103 says to get the good ending of the thing, you need to wait for Barry after you kill the snake boss. Yeah, there's some stuff you gotta do. I'm definitely not gonna play this whole game tonight, so I'm not super concerned about that. I'm probably not even gonna fight Yawn, so that's. But yes, accurate. And also, Yawn is not a snake; it's a monster. And speaking of that, Rhino Nar says, "Are you looking forward to see the Resident Evil movie reboot?" Looking forward to is probably like not the operative phrase that I would use, but like curious about. But as I was, I think, telling Eric, might have been last week on the stream, the character Richard who says that line, it's not a snake, it's a monster, his name is on the initial poster, like with this whole, there's like a big word collage of like all these well-known like famous Resident Evil characters, like, you know, Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and it's like Albert Wesker, and then like Richard Aiken is on the poster, and I'm like, what? Like,
that's weird. Yeah.
He gets name dropped on the poster alongside like Chris and Jill and Wesker. Like, why? What the fuck? I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go with it. The director, I mean, it's being produced by, I think, by Fede Alvarez or someone. And so I'm interested, but I just like it. They said that they're doing Resident Evil 1 and 2 as a single movie, and I don't want to watch a 3-hour Resident Evil movie, and I don't think you can do both of those stories in like 90 minutes, and so...
Yeah, it would make more sense to do Resident Evil 2 and 3 simultaneously.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just even, like, my thing was like, or just do, if you really want to do 2, because that's
stories of Resident Evil 2.
Right, do 2, and then you can do a prequel of 1 if the 2 movie is successful, if that's what you really want to do. But, like, I guess I just don't get why you would do 1 and 2.
Well, maybe they've got a good idea to do it that way.
I sincerely hope so, and like I said, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's a Netflix thing, so like I'm sure I'm gonna watch it. But okay, wait, quirks of the Saturn. I love that because of the way the Saturn uses 2 video processors and they're layered. When I walk through the pools of blood under dead enemies, they disappear in favor of Jill's shadow.
Yeah.
That's similar to like when Alucard has the invisible cape in Symphony of the Night. It makes anything in the foreground like not like if you pull it up around yourself, like Alucard has that animation where he can cover himself with his cape. Instead of seeing Alucard through it, he just disappears when you pull it up around yourself because of the way that the Saturn video processors work, which I always think is hilarious. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe they do. I mean, my thought is maybe that like they say that, but it's like like a slightly less than 2-hour movie, and the mansion is like a 15-minute sort of like
it's possible
exposition dump, and then the rest of it is Resident Evil 2. So I don't know. I'm
yeah, right. Cause to do the whole mansion and then all the stuff in the city and the secret. I guess you would probably combine. You wouldn't do the both games version of the secret base,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
you would, yeah, like you said, you would use the mansion to set up the plot, and then the rest of it, the like revelations around Umbrella and all that stuff, would take place in the base underneath the city, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. You would have to do
Right.
something to that effect. And I think, I don't know. It can't be worse than especially the later like Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies. I don't even like there's people who are like, no, like the first one is good, and I don't even like the first one.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like watchable, but it's not good.
But the sequels are ass. Like they're
Which one has the laser room? Is that the first one?
That's the
That's the first one. That's
the
the one thing that everybody likes about that movie.
right, which is why they put it into an actual Resident Evil game.
And it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't like random QuickTime events in
No,
your
I don't. I
third-person
hate
action
them.
game?
That's like the best argument for remaking Resident Evil 4 is that you could make it without all the shit ass QuickTime events in it.
Right. So
That one's not too bad. The one that really sucks is when you're fighting what's his face
Krauser.
on the castle. Yeah, Krauser.
yeah,
Krauser.
the
Some
knife
of the
fight.
Krauser fights really stink.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like some of those cutscenes are pretty long, and when you die, you have to do the whole thing over again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Anyway, returning to Notia
yes. Yes.
was released in 2019 for the PlayStation Vita, and then was ported to Switch this year. So they were still putting things out on Vita in 2019, apparently.
What's a Vita?
Exactly.
Well, apparently they're about to not only stop putting things out on it, but make it like inaccessible. So
Oh yeah, I know. On PlayStation 3.
PSP, PS3, and PS Vita, I guess, is what the rumor is currently.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I understand them closing the store down, but them to like take the servers down so you can't even ping them to. I don't know, some of that stuff.
Re-download your old games.
Fortunately, if
or-
you have a Vita or especially a PSP, you can just like hack the shit out of it. So
yeah,
everybody that bought one of those turned it into a all-in-one emulator,
Right.
portable emulator, like a
Right.
few weeks after they got it in most cases. So
yeah, true.
also, it's very important for you to point out that one of the characters in Notia is a dolphin that has she's like a sentient dolphin that exists inside of a suit.
Good.
Nice.
It looks like a diving helmet, but it's full of water. which is
Right.
good.
And there's a dolphin in it.
One of the characters is being slowly transformed into a cat, and so it just has like the body and head of a cat like robotically attached to his neck. One of the characters is like a 1950s style gray alien.
Nice.
And so you're constantly accusing him of being an alien. He's like, "What? Do I look like an alien to you?" Which is always a good time.
Nice.
I don't know. There's just like it's a very
Stupid thing.
it's pretty stupid, yeah, in a way that I really enjoy. There's a lady that has all these crazy tattoos, and then you like bump into her coming out of the shower, and she's like, "Oh no, these aren't tattoos. This is a non-sentient slime mold that lives on my body from this planet that I was born on, and we all have these." Which is a good time, I think. But they don't like the heat, so they go like under her skin when she takes a shower.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway,
Rhino Nart says he just watched Children of Men tonight and wants to know if we like that movie. That's a really good.
Yeah,
I
that
like that
movie's
movie a
great.
lot. That's a really good movie.
Yep.
I saw it once and I thought it was good at the time. I have no idea what I would think about it now, but it's probably
You'd
fine.
probably still like it. I think.
Yeah, I'd probably still like it.
I've revisited
I
it,
just-
recently
Pretty good.
enough to say that I thought it held up quite well.
I just don't trust my old taste.
That's totally fair and reasonable.
But yeah, but I'm sure that one would probably be fine.
Also, like that movie's not
Remember Clive Owen?
super old. Yeah, man. I feel like he was in something
around?
not that long ago that I liked. But now I can't remember what. Well, he was in that Will Smith clone movie. I didn't see
Gemini
that.
Man?
Yeah, he was
I
the
was gonna
bad
say,
guy.
you didn't watch that.
I
Come
didn't
on.
watch that. But no, I feel like there was something else I saw him in recently where I was like, oh, it's good to see him again. But yeah, he's a good actor. I wish he'd do more stuff still. But
I enjoyed him in Inside Man as well. Which
Yes.
apparently came out the same year.
wow, that was the same year?
Yeah.
Big year to be Clive Owen, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to save this here game and call it a stream once I have completed my save. Oops. Nope. Save over that one. There we go. Always keep alternating save files in Resident Evil games because you never know. I learned this in the hard way one time. I was saving over every save as I went. I think it was the first time I played Resident Evil 2, and I got to like the end of Leon's B scenario where you have to fight Mr. X, and I didn't have any healing items left, and I was in the like dragging my foot behind me level of health, and Mr. X, like, you can't dodge if you are at that level of health, so I literally could not get out of the first like phase of Mr. X's boss fight, and was just like, I guess I just have to start over because like I have no healing items, and since it's at the very end, I can't go back to try and find ones that I might have missed, like because the lab is like already closed off to me, so I just like I'm fucked. So always keep alternating save files on Resident Evil games. That's the hot lesson. All right, so that was a stream. Happy 25th birthday, Resident Evil. And we'll be back next week with something else. Valheim, maybe more of that, or who knows. But we'll be back next week. Good night.